Today, I decided to share with you the analysis of a multifamily building in Tikam, Bersha Heights, Dubai. I've been doing an analysis on that building for a company that's interested to purchase it, and I thought it would be interesting to share it with you. You may not be a multi-home buyer today. In Dubai, mostly people go for residential, single units, unless they are experienced investors, and even some of the experienced investors still go for that. However, some of the experienced investors understand the benefit of a non-strata asset, an asset that doesn't have a homeowners association. This is what I will take you through today. Welcome to The Brief. I'm Makram Hani, analyzing property so that you can be more informed. Stay with me. As we said, it's a multi-family building that we're looking at today. We will be looking at details of that building. We'll be looking at location, and we'll be looking at all other elements that can give us more knowledge about the area, about the quality of the investment it is. And this way you can also compare between the quality of investment you're doing today and the quality of investments that bigger investors can do. And by bigger here, I don't mean that you can do this investment. I believe anyone and everyone can do such an investment when he's experienced enough, confident enough, understands how to raise funding and do a similar investment. And I believe that when you get involved in similar quality assets, you'll have more control over the asset and over the return, which is very important. Now, the building is in a location in Tikam, in Bersha Heights today. It used to be called Tikam. I still call it so. In Bersha Heights today, which is central. The benefit of it is, so this is the location. The benefit of it is that it's in the middle of everywhere. It's near to Palm Jumeirah, a fun residential and hospitality touristic district. It's near to downtown. It's easy entrance, easy exit. And one of the main reasons I love this area is, and two of our offices are in this area, just because of the ease of entry and ease of exit. You will not find a difficulty going in or out, even at peak. And this is major. It's very near to the greens, and the greens it's important that it's near to the greens, because being near to the greens allows it a proximity to a great residential area that people love. It's one of the best residential areas in New Dubai. It's old, but it's still loved. It's a mixed-use development in general, so there is hotels, there's residential, there's commercial. It's not a high-end community, yet it's well preserved when it comes to the community itself. It's being developed, and currently it's around maturity. And this is major when you're buying a building like that. The building we're talking about is a multi-family building. It's residential. The building offer price or asking price is 120 million dirhams. The size is 22,937 square meters. And here comes the numbers. Now, let's see if the numbers on this property will dance. Rental income is 10.8 million a year currently, with an escalation clause within the rental contract. However, I haven't taken that into consideration with full effect. So the escalation clause is a 5% escalation clause. Yet when I have gone through the rental contract yesterday, I found that it's not solid enough for us to say that that rental is non-breakable. So in a way or another, that rental is breakable, and I need to account for the risk of that rental being broken. Now, is 10.8 million within the market range today of rent of a similar property? Yes, it is. It's a non-strata asset, so the costs on it are low, and the vacancy rate is supposed to be low. Now here I accumulated a vacancy rate which is lower than the usual I accumulate, yet I still accumulated a much higher vacancy rate that you accumulate for similar property. So for strata asset or non-strata assets that are rented for long-term and extended period of time, you usually calculate a much less vacancy rate, because you know that it takes 3 to 10 years for that asset to become vacant. And taking 3-10 years to become vacant, it means you cannot accumulate this vacancy period and then account for a 10% or an 8% vacancy per year, which is excessive in such a situation. So I couldn't calculate that, yet I still was much more conservative than the way people look at it, and I have calculated a higher vacancy rate than we would calculate with such a property. Now, the revenues in such a property are stable and grow with time. Because this property is leased to one company have leased the whole property, it gives it the stability, as well it gives it an element of risk. Now, when I looked at the company, it's not a grade A company that have leased it, but it's a good quality company with good track record, and it's in an industry that I would call secure. So there's no much risk of that company going under, and probably even if we can go claim anything as per your agreement, you wouldn't get it. So that's not the case here. Expenses on such a property are lower than what you would account for service charges or anything like that, because there is a internal management for the building, and that's managed, and there's many expenses that can be passed on to the tenant on that building. So the net operating income are 9.6 million, which is a good net operating income. The cost of funding annually is 3.5 million. Now, operating cash flows are great. And here we'll see the quality of return on such a building. The quality of return as cash flow is concerned, as a cap rate, as cash on cash return, and the IRR, as well as the gross rental multiplier. Now, just to tell you that my assumption and my advice to the buyers of the building is to not offer more than 105 million. Now, why not offer more than 105 million dirhams for it? Which is 88% of the asking price of a similar property. Because for the numbers to make sense, and when I stress tested that as part of their portfolio, I discovered that if they offer higher, if they offer the asking price, for example, the numbers will be shy. It's not what I would expect when purchasing similar property. So the cap rate at 105 million, which is an 88% of the asking price, is 9.2%, which is very good. It's very decent. Now, the cash on cash return is very good as well. It's 14.5%. Can it be higher? Yes. However, it's in such a market today where you know that rents always lag. So especially with such a property, because it has been rented probably 2 years ago, and then rents will lag to escalate to what the market is at today. So the price of or the value of the property will lag as well. Now, this creates an opportunity of some sort because of valuation. Now, what happens is cap rates drop in similar periods, and then they will work their way up with time. Now, cap rates drop because valuations for similar property will still be valuations for similar property, and not all the valuation or not the whole weight isn't on the return of such a property. Now, the IRR is decent. Gross rent multiplier is good as well. So I believe it's a property with good numbers if they're able to close it as 105 million. If they weren't able to close it at 105 million, those numbers will be shy in a way or another. Equity buildup is very good. The loan to value here, as you notice, we've taken a 60% loan to value. We have not taken a loan to value, which is the usual I consider, which is 80%. Because if you're buying such a property, it will be very difficult to get the first mortgage at an 80%. Regularly, you'll get a 50 to 60%, and then you can raise funds from other sources or other means of fundraising. Numbers are good, and probably I expect them to dance properly. Now, I've analyzed this yesterday, so I've gone through it already, and I do understand how good the numbers are at 105 million of an offer price if the sellers agree to the offer price, and I believe they would agree, because it seems that the building has been in the market for some time and has been at slightly higher rate and then dropped and then a small negotiation here would get both parties to something that's reasonable and decent. Now, it doesn't have to close at 105 million, but if it closes around that, it's fair for both. Again, the numbers 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 35 years, I'll not go through because they're pretty impressive. It does very well, and it does very well with time. And as we know, the operating cash flow will continue to increase and to improve. And that's major when you're buying such an asset. When you're buying such an asset, your game is a cash flow game more than anything else. And as long as you're able to sustain your asset, you're able to manage a decent, even in a rough time, manage a decent cash on cash return while you have the rest covered through a mortgage, you're well off. And that is a cause of infinite return. You manage the property right, you take care of the asset, you take care of the building, you pick the property in the right location. It pays off handsomely with time. Now, the cap rate, again, cash on cash, and all numbers are pretty well. And at 105 million, because this is what I'm calculating at, which is what my view was as an offer price. And now I believe the buyer will be more aggressive than that and will offer 100 and then will work his way out, because he will target to close at 105. But in my view, if he closes at 105 or 108, it's still suitable. Even 110 is still within the valuation that's right for that building. We go to the financing assumption. The equity is 40%. As we said, we took 60% as a total financing. You see that the annual net cash is pretty positive. There is a decent, sizable amount of net cash. Now, you will see a bigger difference between the net cash here as a ratio and a property that you've purchased when we calculated 80% as funding, just because you've put more equity over here. Now, in general, buyers for such a building will not put the rest as pure equity from one party. There will be a formula that will work there to get, and this is exactly what we're working with this specific gentleman who's heading the company that is buying this asset or targeting to buy this asset. Expenses are, in general, most of it is property management. The rest of the costs are done internally with very little cost that is, or non-significant cost of maintenance, service charge, and the rest, because in general, service charges with such a property, you're only paying the community charges, while many of the maintenance and daily errands will go to the tenant, so the tenant will be paying those. Now, as a summary, I believe it's a great asset to purchase. It pays you well. Revenue and operating cash flow will improve significantly with time. They're great from day one. Stress test this property yesterday. I'll not run you through it now because I'm sure you know how to do it now. You can refer to our discussion on how to stress test a portfolio or a property. But it's pretty solid and it's pretty safe as an investment, because it needs approximately a 40 to 50% market drop for you to stop cash flowing positive. Imagine, the rent should drop by 50%. So first, you need to lose this tenant. Second, you need the market to drop by around 50%, which is very difficult, yeah? And then, you still will not be losing money from a profitability point of view, because you still have an equity buildup, but you will be at that point of time not making a positive cash flow. So it's a pretty solid investment. I hope you've enjoyed analyzing this building with me today. I'm Makram Hani on The Brief, analyzing property so that you can be more informed.